The full episode is now available on Patreon and YouTube memberships. Please see the link in the description for more details.
It's a big change.
And real quick, before I let you go, House of the Dragon. We're at the mid-season point, and so far I'm impressed with how much of the show the casual fans are taking to, and I'm also impressed like how the showrunner Ryan Condal has managed to give us book nerds some of the deep lore of the series. You know, like the Johanna Swan thing, which shows up maybe 2 times in the Fire and Blood history book. They brought up the Bracken Blackwood feud, which I thought was really cool, and then they go off in like a weird direction with other parts of the lore, like the wedding thing.
But then, I mean, then, you know, he made a direct change with both, like, Rhea Royce death being a murder rather than accidental, and Joffrey Lonmouth's being, like,
deliberate.
You know, another accident into a straight-up murder. I mean, those are some pretty big changes. I mean, and I'm fine with changes, because, like I said, the source material isn't great, and but, man, I mean, I don't know. I don't mind that it was a change. I just mind that it didn't work. I think episode 5 was like the beginning and the ending of that episode was just a mistake.
Well, there's always room. Of course, there's always room to either make improvements or changes for television. And I think the reason he changed all that was because we have a wedding. We gotta have a death. A wedding without at least one death is a dull affair. Oh, Rhea Royce. Well, we got to show Daemon being an ass.
Everyone kept correcting me. It wasn't a wedding. It was a welcome feast.
Ryan Condal. Yeah, someone did the same to me to my comment section. Ryan Condal in the behind the scenes called it a wedding.
I know. I mean, they made the same red wedding jokes, right? There's so many things that, like, people start seeing stuff online and then they start talking to each other, and then all of a sudden it becomes fact. And, like, I can refute it 1,000,000 times and it doesn't matter. I'm going to get another comment. Like the fact that, like, oh no, Daemon spooked the horse because he smelled like a dragon. No, he didn't. Okay? That didn't happen. That didn't happen. Oh my God.
You know what happens, homie? You know what it is? I'm going to be an asshole for a minute here. It's people go and they'll watch another Game of Thrones YouTuber and, oh, that sounds like a great idea. And then they'll bring it back over here. Guys, please stop doing that.
Such fucking cope. Okay, it's like I went frame by frame. Okay, the horse reared in reaction to Rhea Royce grabbing her bow. Daemon did nothing. He did not move towards the horse until after it went up, and then he goes and he pushes the horse over. Okay, there was no spooking the horse thing. He put his hand out, and the horse made like a whinny, and then he put his hand back, and then she's talking for a while. Then she grabs for her bow. She actually backs off. And then she grabs for her bow, and then the horse goes up for no reason, and he runs over and he pushes the horse over. Like, it's just, there's no, like, spooking the horse smelling like a dragon thing. That was just, like cope. Like, that's just, like, copium. It comes out of nowhere. Like, I don't know.
But I was going to ask you, what do you think of the mid-season so far, the first 5 episodes? What do you think of the whole thing so far? Briefly.
I think the problem is that where they've left things, it was a very bad ending. It was a very, very bad ending. So, I mean, again, like episode 4, 9 out of 10. And the middle of this episode was really good stuff. It's golden, you know? The problem with House of the Dragon is they throw in these moments of absolute violence that are not needed, that just disrupt the plot so much, where characters just don't act like human beings would act. Like when you all of a sudden have like a bloodbath in the middle of your episode and everyone's like, "Mwah," and they shrug. Like, how are you supposed to take it seriously?
This is exactly what I was saying. Like, the random violence and brutality and how the crowd cheers for it reminds me of that one show, Spartacus. I don't know if you or the audience ever saw it, but, you know, I always find it funny how in that show, the crowd goes crazy, almost animalistic over the bloodshed in the Colosseum to the point of, like, parody. And the difference here is that we're not focusing on the peasants watching, like, a fight, but on the nobility. But even they, with, like, all the class and sophistication they have, like, they act like barbarians the moment someone gets a nosebleed. And I'm sure some asshole is going to say, well, that's the point, Carmine. They're, you know, barbarians in fancy clothing, and it's the human condition and the study of the mind, blah, blah, blah. It's over the top. It's silly. Like, don't try.
But even if we were taking Dothraki culture, so maybe I could say, okay, the first episode had that unnecessary, like, violence in the beginning. And you could say, okay, well, if they were Dothraki, the jousting tournament we'd probably excuse it, right? But even taking episode 5, imagine all the characters are Dothraki and there's a Dothraki wedding. And one of the Dothraki beat up and kills a Co or a blood rider of the rival Dothraki clan. Would they take that? And you're no. They would think that was really, really serious. And it would cause blood feuds, and it would be a really big deal. Even when we consider them being barbarians, that's not even how barbarians would act. Barbarians, what human condition are we highlighting even anymore? When somebody just gets murdered and then they just all go about their day.
Well, yeah, it's supposed to show us that Westeros is a violent place no matter who you are, but it's still excessive and almost parody. And you're right about the blood feuds things, which is super common among the great and lesser houses, Martell and Lannister. That's a classic, or most recently the Manderleys in the fray with the last book.
But they're going to try to have it both ways, because what they're going to have is they're trying to have it be one of the seeds that leads to the war, and the two branches of blacks and greens going into feud. But at the same time, it's not enough that anyone would have done anything at that moment. It's supposed to be one of these events that's going to be well, now I understand why the Greens and the Blacks are going to hate each other because of Joffrey Lonmouth. And you're why wasn't anything done at the time? It was really bad. It was really bad. And at least if there wasn't going to be a time skip, I'd be well, maybe I can hope that it's going to be explained, but it's not going to be explained. It's not going to be explained. There's going to be a 10-year time jump, and it's not going to be explained. Kristen Cole's going to be Lord Commander. He's going to be promoted somehow. And, maybe there's going to get a throwaway line, but it's not going to be properly explained.
Well, that's only the last episode. What did you think of all of them so far? What do you think of the show so far?
The show so far, if we go before episode 5, the show greatly exceeded my expectations. I thought the show was just going to be kind of mid, and I thought that the ratings were going to be kind of mid. The show is better than I thought. The ratings are through the roof. It's a big deal. But if they keep pulling shit like that, people are eventually going to
pulling shit
down.
In the last episode.
And in episode 5. And this does seem to be a pattern, actually, right? Because in the first episode, people had some serious problems with that tourney. Okay, that tourney didn't make any fucking sense. You can't just fucking have people dying, right? So, and people kind of forgave it. And then I'm trying to think, what was the big violence of the second episode? Was there anything?
No, the third episode, the second episode, there was about to be violence, but then Rhaenyra puts a stop to it. The third episode is about the hunt, and it's also where Daemon kinda 1v1s the crab feeder off screen.
Oh, the hunt.
And he does
right.
that Superman superhero run where he doesn't get hit by any arrows.
Right. Okay. So it was the ridiculousness of the battle. That's right. So we had the ridiculousness of Daemon's battle, which they got away with a little bit because battles are ridiculous. But if they keep doing shit like that, and there is a pattern now. So we've got the tourney, we've got the ridiculousness of Daemon's battle in the Stepstones, and that ending just being stupid. And then we have the Joffrey Lonmouth death, and the ridiculousness of Daemon at the beginning. But I think people are kind of can forgive and forget that kind of small scene. But we're probably going to see more of this shit. We're just going to see more random freaking stuff where we're like, what? Who would do that? It's that's going to happen. So, I fear that we're going to get more of those scenes that just don't make any sense, and stuff's going to shut down. People are eventually just going to stop taking it, I think. But, they're sprinting fast towards a season 8 kind of feeling. And I know people get angry saying, oh, how dare you say that kind of stuff. And it's no, there's only so many times you can pull this shit. where a scene just doesn't make sense. You know? Because I know with like season 7 and season 8, it took a while, but like you know, the jetpack stuff, like they forgave Jetpack Warp 1 and they forgave Jetpack Warp 2, and then the Gendry thing with him running back to the wall and sending the Raven and having Dany go all the way north, and like eventually people are like, come on, you know? And that's what's going to happen here. There's only so much that someone can take. And there's going to be another one of these scenes. There's probably going to be several where we're just like, come on, you know?
I know at this point we're like beating this one thing to death, but it is kind of terrifying if you think about it, that there's a rogue Kingsguard inside the Red Keep, just, you know, who can beat the fuck out of anybody at will, and none of the other Kingsguard try to stop him. Like they don't even try to, because when he's beating up Joffrey Lonmouth, none of the other Kingsguard go to intercept him and try to, like, you know, calm him down. They just let him do his thing, and that's kind of terrifying, that there's a guy inside the Red Keep who's supposed to guard the king and the royal family, and he can just kind of do whatever, and his colleagues just don't even try to, like, you know, keep him in line. Yeah.
And the queen can just walk out to the Godswood where he's hanging out. Like, no one's gonna guard her. But yeah, that it was also just really weird that Alicent is in 2 places at once. You know, they set up the parallel scenes to be happening at the same time, and she's in both scenes. Like, it's just a lot of lack of caring. It's a lot of lack of caring for themes and for logic and all these sorts of things, and just like basic filming.
You know, I can forgive it because so far we only have 5 episodes. We haven't seen episode 6 yet. That's like in a couple of hours. But so far I can forgive the weird decisions in episode 5 because it's the first time we've had these like weird decisions where characters all of a sudden don't make any sense. So I can forgive it. It's the first offense. We've had 5 episodes. Right. 1 episode has it. It's very minor at the very end. So I can forgive it, but hopefully it doesn't keep happening.
But he can't learn from it. He can only learn from it for season 2. Like, the rest of the season's going to have these moments.
We'll see. We don't know yet.
But I'm saying it's a pattern. We've seen just what I'm saying. We've got the tourney. We've got Daemon in the Stepstones. Like running, you know, everybody running out of caves and trying to kill him, and him just like killing people right and left, and arrows not hitting him, and all that shit. Like, right. Like, so I'm saying that's plot point 2. And then we've got Joffrey Lonmouth, and there's some little ones. Like I say, I think the killing of Rhea Royce is ridiculous, but like that's so small in the grand scheme of things. Because, you know,
I probably shouldn't bring this up. What about the time Viserys says, "I never"?
I mean, again, like you could remove, like, I would say a minor scene is like a scene where if you removed it, the story goes on as if nothing happened. Had you not had that scene at the beginning of, what's weird about the Rhea Royce scene is, had you deleted the scene completely, the episode is better. Don't you think? Because that means when he shows up to the wedding feast and he gets accused of murder, it's ambiguous, and you're like, what? You're in the mindset of Viserys, because Viserys is listening in and is like, did my brother murder somebody? And he's like puzzled. And we would be puzzled with him at that moment. And we're like, and Daemon would remain gray. And you're like, well, is that something Daemon would do? I don't know. You know,
to be honest, people love the Daemon character so much. They're doing mental gymnastics to defend him. It's just because he smelled like dragon. Like, bro, really?
Somebody gave there was a better one somebody said to me. They're like, well, couldn't you argue it was self-defense? And it's like, It's like, he arrived and he did nothing. She grabbed for her bow. Like, so then he went and pushed over her horse. And I was like, I suppose. But did he know that she was going to shoot him? immediately. Like, he could have put his hands up. Was that lethal force really necessary? So I think the self-defense argument is actually a little stronger than anything else. But, like, why would you show up in the past like that? I don't know.
Daemon's an ass. Daemon is a piece of shit. He's that gray character that we need.
Well, no, he's not gray anymore. He's a freaking murderer now. It's not gray anymore.
Well, there are, people are going to defend it. People are going to make.
They're going to be like, Daemon did nothing wrong. Self-defense.
I like how he keeps showing up at the Red Keep in King's Landing when he's not wanted, and he just keeps somehow. That would be fucking hilarious. Yeah. Every episode he's banished, and every episode there's a reason for him to come back, and he's just somehow back. How are you back here?
That's so Daemon. Yeah, I know.